Welcome back to Practical Pathfinder, you wizards, maguses, and other arcane enthusiasts. It's time to hit ranks 4 and 5 of the arcane spell list and figure out what are some of the best and most practical spells to take in any given situation. Now, at rank 4, arcane spells specialize in having incredible buffs and very solid zone control at this rank. You have some good damage spells, but you're really going to excel if you focus in on your super powerful buffs and zone control. Good news is for our damage enthusiasts, we still have some solid mixed use spells. Cinder Swarm to start with is a very good repeated spell that lets you force move an enemy every single turn as they take small amounts of damage from your sustain. Great value, good way to bully melee enemies and force them to waste an action every turn, reapproaching your allies. Core Eruption is essentially Fireball, but if it was split up and made hazardous terrain. It does 2 bursts of reflex save damage and creates terrain that will hurt people when they walk over it. This is very good for choke point battles and very good when combined with force movement. If you have any allies with moves like Whirling Throw or simply force movement from spells like Cinder Swarm, you can rack up a lot of points of damage with Coral Eruption. Rust Cloud, for those who just want massive damage, is exactly that. As a fortitude save, you create this huge zone of damage, which does big numbers, and it will keep doing it every round. Get teammates who will grapple the enemy and hold them inside the cloud, or other caster teammates who can pin them down with difficult terrain or some other method, and you're going to rack up some huge numbers. And last, we have a mixed debuff spell with Vision of Death. As a will save, you can do single target damage and apply the frightened condition. Consider Vision of Death to be essentially your improved fear spell that is single target but does damage instead of hitting a group. But as I said, by rank 4 of the arcane spells, our control is very good. Starting off with Containment. As a reflex save, you can trap an enemy inside of essentially a sphere they have to waste attacks to get out of. This is really good. It traps an enemy, it wastes their attacks and therefore increases their multiple attack penalty, and wastes their actions. Very solid pick of a spell. Simple, but effective. For more fancy tricks, we have Grasp of the Deep. This is a will save that grabs an enemy while doing damage to them. So, remember when I mentioned Rust Cloud? If you have 2 casters on your party, perhaps one's an primal caster like a druid, you can cast Rust Cloud and your friend casts Grasp of the Deep or vice versa, and now they're stuck inside of a deadly damage field that they can't escape from. Great combo. And Grasping Earth is fairly similar to Grasp of the Deep. We're changing the will save for a fort save and the damage for having an area of effect for the grab. Pretty similar, but good control nonetheless. And of course, here's the best spell of 4th rank. Let me tell you this. This is the spell you're going to want to take on every build. Stifling Stillness. Stifling Stillness is completely insane. It's a fortitude save zone that is difficult terrain and does a very small amount of damage. It's not a lot of damage, but that's okay. It still does damage every turn. It instantly applies fatigue to your enemies, and they must spend an action attempting to breathe, unless they were holding their breath already. But who's holding their breath before you cast a spell? That wouldn't make any sense. You know what that means? This is literally a one-stop shop for a damage field that's difficult terrain, applies fatigued for a defensive debuff, and slows them down by 1. If you pin them into this thing, you're going to win. You're just going to win. This is an unbelievable spell. Stifling Stillness is your MVP. Oh yeah, also Shapestone exists. Shapestone can be used as a control spell. You can make a wall or a cover or a pit. Its real value is inside of buildings, dungeon crawling, and roleplay. Shapestone allows you to open up holes in things, right? If you see a stone wall keeping you out, you can shape stone and make a doorway. or shape stone to make a bridge or a staircase. It has a lot of uses for that. Maybe consider just carrying a scroll of it for those edge scenarios. It's pretty hard to consider taking it over something like Stifling Stillness, unless you're really dedicated to the Earthmancer style of play. Now, I did mention that buffs are a key part of 4th rank arcane spells, and ooh, you get some good stuff. First off, you get Fly. This lets you fly. That's really good. I don't know how else to say it. Turns out the ability to fly has incredible uses in role playing. It's great in combat. It's great for exploration. Fly over things, fly into things. This spell is just good. You're going to want at least one scroll of fly on you. You never know, no matter what situation you're in, that you can diffuse a problem by saying, hey, game master, what if I flew over that wall or that pit? What if I flew away from this ooze or those wolves? And the game master would go, oh, yeah, I guess you could do that, huh? You want to scroll. Beyond that, Mountain Resilience is a very, very good tank buff. What this is it's a long duration buff that will give physical resistance to whoever you cast it on, and it will slowly chip away at its own cast time, its own duration, as they take hits, but will absorb a massive amount of damage. Zephyr Slip is another great spell. This is a reaction and a very good pick when you're higher level and you don't really care about 4th rank spells anymore. Zephyr Slip is a reaction that when an enemy moves adjacent to you, you Zephyr Slip and move away from the enemy. This forces them to waste a second action to reapproach you. Good stuff. Very valuable. And invisibility at 4th rank. We try not to talk too much about upcast spells, but we have to here. 4th rank invisibility is probably the best of the buffs, outside of Fly, which is its own thing. 4th rank invisibility makes you invisible, yeah, but it no longer breaks when you take hostile actions. You can cast 4th rank invisibility on a teammate and they just start swinging in at their enemy who can't see them. Which means if they're hidden and they stay hidden because the enemy can't see them, 50% mischance to target them. The enemy, half their attacks just miss immediately. Amazing. It also means the enemy's off guard to them. So rogues, if you cast 4th rank invisibility on a rogue, they can just run up to your bad guy and go to town with sneak attacks galore. Now I'll note you have to be careful here. There are counter spells for invisibility, such as See the Unseen, and a lot of senses for special monsters like Tremor Sense or Smell will let them notice you, and it won't be as powerful as you would expect. But when it works, oh, it works. Now, when it comes to items, lots and lots of good spells, lots of good buff spells and zone spells. Any of those would make for a happy scroll. But money's limited, so here's what I recommend. You're going to want a scroll of Fly, as I mentioned earlier. Sometimes you need to fly and you don't want to be out of resources. You're going to want a scroll. Second, consider a Wand of Carry-All at rank 4. This is a weird spell. Normally, it makes a disc that carries some treasure for you, which is okay. But at rank 4, Carry-All can carry people. Yeah? You can carry a person behind you, which means a party member or a hostage or a NPC you're protecting can sit on the disc and move around with you. And that has a lot of versatility. This is rather build dependent based on what party you have, but if you have a ranged combatant or a ranged teammate, they can benefit a lot from this. And last, consider a scroll of rank 4 Enlarge. It makes any character of your choice huge with plus 10 reach and some bonus damage. Fighters will love this. Champions, barbarians, even a ranger, it's good on all of them, and it'll make your marshal very scary. The reason I consider this a scroll rather than a mainline spell is that, honestly, I think 4th rank invisibility is usually a better pick for your slot. It's just... 4th rank invisibility is very hard to compete with. But sometimes you need to get huge, and that's when that Enlarge comes in handy. But enough about talking about spells generic. What should I pick, you say? Well, I hear you. For those of the strategy inclined, if you want to control the battlefield and manage your party, start with invisibility at 4th rank. This is just an incredible buff. You will find a good use for it, and any character is going to like this before going into combat. Just know, be aware that the invisibility mischance goes both ways. If you try and target your invisible friend for a heal spell, you have a 50% mischance. So be careful. Outside of that, you're going to want Stifling Stillness. Absolutely. Stifling Stillness is insane, like we mentioned. It's a debuff, it's difficult terrain, it's slow, and it's damage all at the same time. Now it doesn't work on things that don't need to breathe, so maybe don't cast it on a statue. Everything else, oh man, it's good. And last, consider Containment. It's just a straightforward spell. Isolate an enemy and beat down his friend while he's trying to escape. Trapping the right guy at the right moment always has good value. And for us damage enthusiasts who want to blow stuff up, we're going to have a lot of mixed debuffs, such as the nature of rank 4. First off, take Vision of Death. It does damage and it applies Frighten for your buds. That's good. It's just good, easy to use, powerful. Second, we're still taking Stifling Stillness. This is too good to deny. It's too good. If you want pure damage, you could take Cloud of Rust. You could take Rust Cloud. It does more damage for sure, but Stifling Stillness is just so powerful. You could even combine it with Rust Cloud, honestly. And last, Grasp of the Deep keeps us nice and varied. It's a will save that grabs an enemy. This means our rank 4 will have nice will and fortitude saves, while our rank 3 blast spells will bring the reflex saves. Stay versatile and you can handle any foe. But enough about rank 4. It's time for rank 5 arcane spells, the real powerhouse. All spells for pretty much all casters are going to jump up in power, and you're going to feel it at rank 5. Speaking of which, we aren't even discussing buffs and debuffs at rank 5. We're reaching a point in the spell list where your attack and control spells are also buffs and debuffs. We're starting to get mixed value here, and let's look at damage to see what I mean. First, we have Elemental Breath, a great choice of a do-it-all spell. If you cast this for 3 actions, you get to pick what element comes out of your Elemental Breath, and that allows you to choose your damage type and allows you to choose your debuff. Pick air to knock them away. Pick earth to knock them prone. Pick fire if you need a lot of fire damage, and so on and so forth. Howling Blizzard, however, is the new version of what used to be Cone of Cold. Howling Blizzard has 2 great attack modes, either a giant cone or a 30-foot burst, and it does a bunch of damage and leaves difficult terrain. Pretty easy to use, good reflex save. What's not to like? And last, I'm putting this here just because I ran out of room. Scouting Eye, not a damage spell. This is pure utility. It's very good though because it allows you to make a Scouting Eye that can fly ahead and scout dangerous places. Great for dungeon crawling, role playing, seeing what the king's getting up to when you're not in the room, that kind of stuff. But even in terms of pure damage, our control spells are no slackers. As you might notice, control and damage really start to blend into one at this tier. And Corrosive Muck makes that very evident. Corrosive Muck is a really kind of unique spell. It creates 2 pools of deadly, corrosive muck that makes greater difficult terrain. Greater difficult terrain, that means it takes an extra 10 feet of movement to move into a tile in the 10-foot burst, of which there are 2, mind you. So instead of moving 3 tiles, your enemy gets to move 1. And anyone who starts their turn in the muck or enters it on their turn takes a ton of damage. If you can find a way to force them to not escape the corrosive muck, you're racking up huge numbers while also slowing them to a crawl. Speaking of a crawl, Freezing Rain is similar. Freezing Rain is a spell which has a low impact when it's first cast, but unbelievable impact over the combat. When you first cast it, it just makes a moving terrain bubble, or a moving difficult terrain bubble. Not a big deal. But every time you sustain the freezing rain, you get to move that difficult terrain, which is nice, and then freeze it. When you freeze the rain, your enemies have to make a save and become damaged and possibly slowed one. That's a moving, repeatable damage and control field with slowed one on top every round. You're fighting a lot of enemies or even one enemy for a long time. Freezing Rain has some massive value. Slither is fairly similar. It used to be called Black Tentacles. This is the new version of the spell, and it makes a bubble with an AoE grab effect and damage every round. It's going to combo really good with Freezing Rain and Corrosive Muck. If you have two casters in the party, consider pairing these spells together, and ooh, it's kind of just mean at that point, you know? And last, here we go. 2 gold stars of value. This is a good scroll. This is a good wand. You're going to want this spell no matter what. I'm talking Wall of Stone, baby. Wall of Stone is unbelievable. This is the best wall spell in the game. This is the best wall spell. What it does is it makes a long wall of stone. I know, shocker. But here's the weird thing. Unlike every other wall in the game, every wall in the game is a straight line. Wall of Stone allows you to curve the line. You can bend it, you can make sharp corners, you can fold the wall to make layers, you can make a bridge out of it, or a roof, or a staircase. It does all of them, and it's an incredibly thick and hard wall that's going to take a while to punch through, even from a tough bruiser enemy. It's also like really long. Wall of Stone might be a little busted. I won't lie, it might be a little busted, but hey, why can't the wizard be a little busted sometimes? When it comes to items, there's really 2 main things. Scouting Eye makes for a great scroll. You don't always need to scout ahead in an area or spy on someone. But hey, when you need that, you're going to be glad you have a scroll of it just in case. And Wall of Stone, like I said, it might take 3 actions to cast. You might need to pull out your scroll on a separate turn if it wasn't already in your hand. But more casts of Wall of Stone is always good. Like I said, this spell is unbeatable. It's just the best control spell possibly in the game because it's just, it always works. No saving throw, by the way. No save, always makes a wall. It's not even magical. Did you know the Wall of Stone is not magical after it's been cast? They can't use the spell magic. It's just a wall of stone that's there now forever. So good. In fact, the fact that it's there forever means if you have downtime, you can cast Wall of Stone and just make yourself a house. Might be a little thin. You might want to add some insulation, but dang, that's some good roleplay value, you know? Now, for you control enthusiasts and god wizards out there, rank 5 is where you take off. You're going to love hitting this level, and oh, it's going to feel so good. I recommend taking Corrosive Muck, the massive damage output while having greater difficult terrain. That's hard to beat. That's a power and a value we haven't had good access to yet. There's good spells, but greater difficult terrain is actually quite rare. So, Corrosive Muck can pump out numbers. Second, take Freezing Rain. Repeatable, movable, slow is wild. But when that slows on top of difficult terrain and damage, how can you say no? How can you say no to that? And last, you're taking Wall of Stone. I know you might say, generic, what if I want Wall of Ice? I mean, you could, but you're probably going to come back to Wall of Stone eventually. It's just too good. It's too good. So you're probably going to take it at some point. So may as well make it now. And for us damage enthusiasts, don't worry, we're still doing pretty good. Here, for a damage blaster, take Howling Blizzard, big damage, plus difficult terrain. You kind of do it both. It's got a huge AoE at 60-foot cone or a 30-foot burst. You cover massive area. You're guaranteed to slam every dude on the field, maybe even a couple friends, but hey, all I see is more damage done per spell. And for more precision, we still have Corrosive Muck. The control of greater difficult terrain is so powerful, and it does a lot of damage every round. If you have any way to force them back into the field, be that a teammate shove or whirling throw, be that another caster, whatever it is, you will rack up massive numbers. Even if nothing else, drop this on a doorway, on a choke point. Oh, easy win. And I know, you're here for big numbers and flashy spells. I don't care. Take Wall of Stone. I don't care. You're taking Wall of Stone. It's so powerful. What do I have to say to make you take Wall of Stone? You'll feel good when you have this, even for a damage enthusiast, please. Just one slot. It'll come in handy. Ugh. You see what I mean by control and buff spells really take off at these ranks? It's pretty good stuff. Now, we're not going to cover more because I'm trying to keep these videos a little more bite-sized. So make sure you catch the rest of the Arcane list by subscribing to my channel, Lord Generic RPG, right now. Then you'll catch all the hottest Practical Pathfinder as it comes out. I guarantee you it'll be worth it. Beyond that, let's keep it succinct and clean. This was ranks 5 and ranks 4. If there's a spell that you've loved in your playthrough, let me know. If there's a spell you're a big fan of or that I missed somehow, let me know in the comments, okay? I'd love to see it. I'd love to hear it because I'm going to be honest, there are so many spells. I'm sure I've missed a couple. But either way, as always, I'm Lord Generic, this is Practical Pathfinder, and let's move on to ranks 6 and 7, shall we?